Hey everybody, welcome to 100% Builders from jam.dev. Today we have Nikhil Agarwal. We're so excited to have you here, man. You have had quite the background building prior as a software engineer at Amazon, at Qualtrics, and Microsoft. What we're really excited to talk to you about today is your path to co-founder for PowerYou AI, an AI co-pilot designed to offer personal and professional development. You have a history of building ML products, and now you're going all in on building something new. We're so excited to talk to you about that.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah, the feeling is mutual, I think, and I'm happy to chat about it today.
Amazing. Let's start off. Nikhil, can you just tell us what's going on right now in your world? What are you feeling excited about?
I think this moment in time is very special for all of us. I think some of us see it like very clearly. I feel it like the moment when electricity was invented. And I feel the same when I was first using these large language models and how they respond to. And I think that this is the new electricity in town, as a lot of people refer to it. And how do we find ways to build air conditioning or build water heaters, all the pain points we have been suffering with this new power, which is unleashed to our mankind.
I love that. One thing that just observing what's happening, it seems the last 20 years have been about taking the knowledge of humanity and putting it on the internet. And then the next 20 years are going to be what can we do now that is available, plus these LLMs. I love the comparison to the discovery of electricity and how that changed the world.
Yeah, I think we have passed into different phases of innovations. First, it was all about technology, and this internet companies came through, and then we started collecting a lot of data, and there was this big data, and now it's all about how do we harness that data to basically give insights and intelligence which is beyond human imagination. So I think we are embarking that journey, and the GPT-3 or 3.5 is just the beginning.
So you've been a part of that journey in technology at Microsoft, at Qualtrics, at Amazon. But let's take it to the very, very beginning. Erdif and I were just talking. We saw on your LinkedIn, you wrote that you discovered the internet at a cyber cafe where you grew up. Can you take us back to that moment?
Of course. And for that, I have to start with some small intro. I come from a town in Nepal, Birganj, and it's 150 miles roundish from Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal, is the land of Himalayas and Mount Everest, if you guys know about it. And growing up, my dad got my first computer, and I was learning about internet in a cyber cafe. I used to do like a part-time-ish job there. And
Nikhil, I want to interrupt for a second. That was like my dream because I grew up in Bangladesh and I used to spend many moons in cyber cafes as well. But one of the things I didn't tell Danny was like, I was like looking for online jobs to make money. What was like your part-time job?
oh, I think my part-time job was to just learn computers, right? Like I started diving into networks, IP addresses, the subnets when I was like 15, 16. And that just hooked me up to it. Like how are these websites being, there was this web hosting technologies. And on my birthday, my sister gifted me like a game called Age of Empires. And I was so hooked up into that. I played nonstop 12 hours on my first day. I skipped all my tutorials, classes and everything. And I thought, okay, this is it. I just want to be a software engineer and build things. And I think the title is very suitable here. It's 100% builders. I can so much relate to it.
Okay, you're in the cyber cafe, you're learning about IP, TCP, the fundamental how to build websites and how the internet works. Take us from there. How do you go from there to now founding a generative AI startup?
Oh, that's a long journey. And I think looking back, I feel all the milestones, all the dots which I left on the breadcrumbs I left along the way, finally, they all tied together. And I'm now able to connect those dots as Steve Jobs has said in one of his speeches. If you see, like my journey has been software engineering and then joining Microsoft, I was very fortunate to work in Bing's AI in the image index generation lines. Then I moved to Amazon, where I was where I was building machine learning platform tools for scientists at Alexa. And I also want to add music, Amazon Music, like recommendation system, how to read things, and we use reinforcement learning there back in 5, 6 years ago. And now I was very fascinated about the role I was advising at LearnerU. And we were hitting some roadblocks. And Vivian, who is my co-founder at PowerYou AI, we were brainstorming ideas of how do we solve the challenges we're facing at LearnerU, and how can this new AI thing can solve us. My first impression to every founder who is trying to talk about putting AI, I asked them, hey, why do you want AI in your software? Is it just because you want like a check mark in the investor's checklist? And or is it like you can actually delight the experience for your users? So I asked the same question to Vivian, and we said, okay, let's do it. Let's try and experiment something out and see if it can help those benchmarks. And we played around it, and some of the answers were really like mind boggling. Or I would say we were very impressed because we recruited like individual human mentors, coaches for our LearnerU. And this AI was incomparable or sometimes better than the top 10% of those coaches and mentors. And we were like, oh, okay, let's bring this to action, bring this to life, and help people achieve more and do more with their potentials.
That's incredible. I want to go back to something that you said a little bit earlier where you had this like incredible analogy where generative AI is like electricity, right? Like people have been, or AI in general, like people have been building these building blocks for a while. And then today you're solving the problem of an electricity world. It's like, hey, build air conditioning or like light bulb to solve these like other human like pain points. And you're doing the sort of same thing with generative AI, but you have seen different versions of it, right? Like you've seen the earlier versions when you were building the machine learning pipelines at Microsoft and Amazon. Uh, what is so, what makes this moment, and I know it's obvious to a lot of our listeners who are plugged into the AI ecosystem, but for you as someone who has this like inside perspective, like what is so monumental about this time and this moment where you're like, okay, this is done, electricity inventing is done. Now we have to go solve all these other problems that's associated with it.
And this is a great question, and I'll give you like a layered answer to it. So the first layer of answer is at this moment, I think what OpenAI did a great job is in democratizing the AI. Today, my mom knows AI, and I can talk to her about this whole large language model, and we can see how she can use it in her day-to-day life. She did not know 10 years back, for example. I think the penetration to the market or introducing this whole AI, and it's not like a doomsday scenario of a thing. It's something we can embrace, and we can build guardrails around it and still get better at it. I think that is one part of the story. And the second part of the story is, I think this is revolutionary. What has always existed so far has been, yes, this is AI. Yes, for example, we all go to Amazon.com. We see, okay, what next product I should buy. We all have been very familiar with recommendation systems in our day-to-day lives. We have seen image searches, or we have seen personalizations, things like that. Uh, so that was one side of the story. Today, the AI, what we have with large language model and generative AI has different facets. And we call it like emotional quotient, intelligence quotient, and it has a positivity quotient. So EQ, IQ, and PQ. And how we are able to harness all of this quotient to build like a humanly experience, which did not exist before, or maybe if it did, it was accessible only to a few people in the industry. And now it's like a power everybody can use.
I love this idea of like how you put it with all the quotients and how this is now like a humanly experience. And that is the pivotal moment that like switched everything, like in terms of AI. And going back to what you said, like where you and your mom is using it, like that just tells you that this is the moment to build solutions and solve problems for the humanity on top of generative AI. So to stay in the same theme, like what are you building at PowerYou AI?
Yeah, I'm happy to chat about PowerYou AI. And at PowerYou AI, we are trying to stick to our mission, which is like unlocking human potential and make them achieve more and do more with the power of technology and AI. And we have a working solution right now, which is basically focusing on somebody who we can reach out to for brainstorming ideas, right? Like as founders or as problem solvers, we always have questions around should I do A or should I do B? What if I do B? It's always a trade off, right? There's not always a clear answer. And so, what we have built so far is this AI will ask you probing questions to walk you through this problem solving. And at times, we all know that the answers are within us. It's just we want somebody to walk us through those answers. And during the conversations of the AI, is it our users have used our product for relationship issues, career issues, or if they want to go in their career, grew up in their career, or if they want to spend some time with self growth, things like that. And basically, the AI will help them charter through the top of mind they have currently, and it will make them necessary recommendations and suggestions and some action plan what they can do next. Uh, and doing so, the AI is also pulsing the conversation like a Fitbit device, so you can say. And how is the conversation going? As the conversation is, if it is going positive, negative, we try to sway the conversation in different directions via the AI. Ultimately, we give insights to the user that how are the emotions changing, the patterns of emotions changing over days, weeks, months. Some days my days were very low, and I can go back and see why was my day low because of this conversation and because of this reason. And we have also introduced a concept which is very popular now in coaching industry is wheel of life, where we at Power You believe that everybody should have a holistic life, which has like personal growth, which has career, relationship, family, education, everything. So some days we all are like guilty of focusing on one thing so much at times. And it's okay. I think it's totally acceptable. But we want somebody to show us the mirror that, hey, Nikhil, you are thinking about this like workplace issue currently, for example. And how about we diversify, or how about we talk about something else? How about some self care for you? How about we take some meditation classes? So this is where we are at Power.
Wow. So just to make it concrete, if a PowerYou AI user is like going through a big life decision, should I take this amazing job just offered to me, or should I say no and instead start my own company? They go to PowerYou AI, and what do they see? What do they do? And what does their journey look like there?
Yeah. So definitely for all the above use cases you mentioned, definitely Power UA is the right place. And basically, as they come to our platform, the users can talk to the AI, the very powerful AI which we have. And the AI will ask some questions around those topics and try to give some recommendations, suggestions on the way, see what works for you, doesn't work for you. And ultimately, like any doctor or good providers we like is there's like a concept of after visit summary, and the AI sends the whole like a full transcript of what we spoke about and the key points, so that you don't have to see the transcript all the time. You can only remember those key highlights of the conversation.
That's really cool. And basically, when you think about Power UI, it's like a coach, teacher, parent, all in one. But today, like after you launch the product, like who do you see using the product the most? What sort of people? How old are they? Do you have any idea who's getting the most value out of it today?
I think I'll start by myself. I think we might be like a little bit biased, but I use it all the time for my anything like what is my go to market. I'm trying to launch a feature and things like that. And talking about our members and users, I think we don't read or we respect the privacy of our members, but we basically categorize the conversations, right? Which category the conversations are leaning towards. And mostly what we see our users are like discussing about their relationships, careers, self care, personal development. And it's everybody like you, me, Danny. I think all of us can get benefit out of it. And I think one thing I would emphasize there is think about a supercomputer who has human kind of abilities to show emotions and empathy, and which is unbiased from like hey, who like our friends or family has some biases because they know us from a long time, and which is unbiased and which can basically which is available 24/7 at your fingertips. I have to wait for my friend to be available or somebody to be available to chat. Maybe I'm in the middle of the night and I have some thoughts in my mind. I just want to bounce ideas. So that's the power we are trying to unleash.
And what I love about this so much is when you think about progress in the last, I don't know, 20 years, a lot of progress in human life has come from software companies. Like before that, it was a lot from like government and more like global things that happened. But really, if you think about who made access to work and education free, it's like YouTube and Upwork. It's like software companies. And it's so cool that progress and software development are so linked because anyone can go and become a software engineer and anyone can go and okay, there are limits, but like basically we can all go contribute positively to like human experience. And you starting this company where you're using software to, for the first time ever, someone can have access to a therapist at low cost because it's software, not human hours, and they can have someone to a thing to talk to that helps them reflect, that won't judge them. It really improves human life, and it's software. It's that makes that possible. It's really cool.
That's true. And the reason I think we say that everybody in the world can use this software is I think if I come from Bangladesh as well, and you can relate to the story. So back in Southeast Asia, we have a very big problem such as like farmer suicides, right? And I try to pressure test as we talk about testing all the time. I try to pressure test our software with, okay, I'm a farmer in like Nepal, for example, and I'm not able to make my ends meet. I'm going through a very hard financial problems in my family. And their thoughts. Then they have good thoughts, bad thoughts coming in their minds. So I tried to test our software, and the software went through from, okay, what are you growing? Is that sounds not like a high yield crop based on your location. And maybe you should try switching over to coffee or tea because at your region, it's very suitable for the climate you have. And that will also help you get more value out of your effort, more ROI, for example. And I felt so good after working through the example. That was like my light bulb moment, you can call it. And I felt, okay, we are really building something which is like on the lines of AI for good, which spans beyond tech people or online people who have access to internet.
I'm getting goosebumps like after hearing that answer. Like that's incredible. You're not only helping people, but there's also this other, it's not just about like mental health, but also a farmer in Bangladesh or Nepal improve their lives in a significant way. So it sounds like a lot of like serious responsibility, right? Like you have to take this super seriously. And something that you talked about on that note in your blog on LinkedIn is how it's important to validate and improve the AI responses, and can be pretty challenging because uh, the factors are like unpredictable, and it's like uh, exactly that. Like it is unpredictable, right? So how did you think about that? How did you go about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for reading through my blog. And as you mentioned, it's very hard to like test or validate the generative AI answers. Just for the listeners, I'll just do a quick recap. Is basically we have this such a powerful technology, this generative AI and large language models, which can generate a lot of text, videos, images. And as we all know, there are like hundreds of ways to say the same thing. And these models can say it in different ways all the time because they want to keep that there's a like a temperature check, and they want to basically be novel at times. They want to basically try to use different things if you're not liking it. If we ask the same question again and again, it will try to say it in a different way so that it feels that the previous answer was not suitable for you. So when we were building PowerYou AI in the early stages, we started with human testing. Everybody does starts with that. And as we were making model changes, fine-tuning improvements, it was very hard to scale because our entire team had to spend like hundreds of hours of testing. And given the use cases I've told you is if there's a serious conversation, we don't want to crack a joke. If there is like a career discussion, we don't want to quickly switch topics, things like that. There are a lot of nuances to conversation. We humans have done this throughout our lives, so we don't understand how complicated that is to have a very smooth running flow. I think to faster as builders, we want to have CI/CD pipelines and things go faster, quickly to production. So I felt that was missing with manual testing. So we added a test suite which completely benchmarks all our things we care about and all the use cases where we feel like are our ideal use cases. And we basically run benchmarks against our current model to those on those use cases. And if the benchmark scores are dropping on the parameters we care about, we fail those test suite and the release is blocked. So the developer has to go back, either they have to roll back completely or they have to improve or at least be at the benchmark. So at the company level, we don't accept like degrading benchmarks at all. What we have done is like we have tried to do like a floodgates kind of a thing. So everything is at the benchmark, and what all you can do is go up from here. So we have gotten and like we have tried to improve the model further and further, and we've increased the benchmark by 30 to 40% since the launch of this test framework.
Wow. Wait, I want to double click on that. So basically, you're saying, look, the quality of the conversations really matter because it's someone's life and we want to take it very seriously. There's not a lot of room for error. As we were testing us as humans, we found there are so many edge cases because the span of conversation someone might talk to PowerYou AI about, it's basically, it's virtually unlimited because life is so complicated. You have all sorts of questions from what to farm to how to find product market fit to how to improve a relationship. And so you were able to discover a list of edge cases that you wanted to make sure about, right? If you're talking about a serious topic, shouldn't move on too quickly. If you're talking about a serious topic, don't crack a joke, things like that. And then somehow you were able to automate the testing of these prompts and have a benchmark for them. How does that work? It feels so qualitative. How does the testing work?
Oh, it was, I think, very challenging to be honest with you. I think we spent through multiple cycles, iterations of testing because the earlier attempts were mostly around okay, string matching. Let's see if there's this word, that word, but there are hundreds of ways of saying the same word, right? The same and stuff like that. Those tests are very flaky. And we were like, okay, we nailed it, but okay, no, and then let's go back to whiteboard and think about it. And then we thought that what matters in our conversations and we try to benchmarks on those parameters and those I score against them. And the scoring mechanism is also like very independent, like a third party. Like very in like critical software, you want the audit or the benchmarking should be done by a third party or like a separate system, not the system which is actually reading because the AIs are smart. It can say, hey, I am perfectly fine. But so what we did was the benchmark system is completely independent from the existing model and that system basically scores and we try to keep the level up.
Do you have an LLM that's scoring your other LLM? Is that what you're saying?
I won't be able to talk to you about that so much I would like to. And that is like a secret sauce. But I think it is a very challenging problem on scoring, as we all know. And there are multiple ways of scoring.
Nikhil, like that is fascinating. So basically solved this problem in your like workflow to make sure that you're all building new models, improving it, iterating on it, and pushing out to production for your users in an accelerated place. In that workflow, as like you, a lot of developers out there, a lot of companies are pretty new to this like new paradigm of developing on AI and the entire stack. What is missing where you're trying to ship things quickly? You're like, like I wish there was something like this that was there. What is your like what keeps you up at night when it comes to code velocity and shipping velocity?
Oh, I think after we solve this test framework, I think we are I can sleep more peacefully. I would say. Apart from that, I think metrics, logs, alarms are there. If the models we are using are undergoing failures, we monitor them. That keeps me up. If there are pages or if there are outages, we are trying to tackle them. But apart from that, I think this one paradigm shift I think we are trying to bring is the market. I think they're a little bit ahead in the market. to like brand AI as our mentors, coaches, guiding like North Stars. Now, I think people think AI has like very good tools and hey, let's use and solve these transactional problems. But I think we would need some time. I think maybe a few years for us to accept AI as like a humanly kind of a system. And I think that's what I think keeps me awake is basically how do we close that gap and build that confidence with our users that, hey, I think we should embrace this further and there's a lot more value to get it from AI. There are a lot of limitations we have at the human scale, right? There are a lot of biases, there are a lot of limitations like time commitments we humans face. We are trying to debottleneck that with the power of AI.
Wow. What are some of the things and that you and your team have had to do in the product experience, in the brand, and the language you use to build the human to computer trust?
Oh, that's a great question. We're still in the process of doing that. And I think the best things we do is like we talk to our customers, period, right? Just ask them what is working, what is not working. And I think there are some users I like to text and just seek feedback. And I think we like to delight our users so that they provide very honest feedback and give us very like good suggestions. So we are continuously iterating on our product and we're trying to find the right messaging out for our users.
It's such an interesting problem.
So it's still an art, basically, like to approach that because you're trying to bridge that gap, build that trust. You're very plugged in to this like ecosystem, like on the frontier. What products are you most excited about that you guys are building that will be launching pretty soon?
That's a great question. I think feature roadmap, I think I would answer in different facets. I think one thing I'm very passionate about is the productivity space. How we all can be more productive, get few hours back in our days. We all would love it, right? To get more hours. And how can we get more insights on what we are working on? How can we optimize our days? So that is what we are currently building. So stay tuned for more updates. Apart from that, I'll touch back to our previous point on the testing framework, right? So we are also like seeing the pattern of problems that everybody who are building these co-pilots and LLMs are facing. And so we are in the process of launching these services, softwares as a service. For example, test framework as a service is one of them where we will allow people to give us responses for the LLMs. And we can tell them which one is higher quality and which one is below their previous version quality. So that you are always improving your software as you go. You're not about testing, you can lean on us for that. The second one is contextual memory. In the AI chatbot space, your chips can only hold X amount of memories. And of course, the chip technology will improve. But until then, we have built like infinite memory about the user. So basically, how can you remember things about the user? For example, if I've told about my grandmother, like she has some condition in the past, and today when I'm talking about her, hey, it's her birthday, and it might just be like, hey, you should gift her a humidifier because she had an asthma issues. So I said, okay, you remembered about my grandmother's condition. So we're trying to build that memory pieces, or actually we have some version of it already shipped. You can try it out. But I think that is another service we are in the process of launching is basically how can you have like a memory for like at your disposal for your chatbot. To the listeners, if anybody is interested in any of the services, feel free to email me, reach out to me. I'm happy to chat.
Like y'all are building so many cool things, like starting from the productivity tool. Then you were talking about having like long-term memory of our conversations and also the tool that solved your problem when it came to validating your model. Now you are launching it as a service. Like, I have two questions. How big is your team and how do you like prioritize and get the team to focus on to build all of these things together? What's your approach?
So I think there is a strategical approach and then there's a tactical approach, as we all know as a founders. And so, like sometimes our team is like mostly focused on, okay, let's get this shipped, let's get this out of the door. And sometimes we are like a statistical mind shift, what we should build. So we have 10 people currently, a mix like full-time, part-time combined. So we have psychologists, we have AI scientists, and we have product folks, we have front-end, back-end design, everything. So we work very lean, in a very lean, flat hierarchy space currently. And I think we are also trying to scale and grow in the coming weeks.
I love the Amazon story here. Amazon was early to build on the web. And so they ended up also selling the infrastructure that helped them do that. You are early to build on generative AI. You're also opening up the infrastructure that's allowing you to do that. I just love that. What do you think the limit of an AI coach is? Do you foresee a world in which PowerYou AI is being fed everything that's happening on my screen, all my vitals and how much did I sleep and all the information from my Fitbit or whatever it is and my step count and what I'm eating? And then a coach, are we 5 years from now going to live in a world of AI super intelligence all help us live better lives? Like reading all your messages. If you weren't very nice to your mom, try again, reach out and say sorry. What is the world 5 years from now, do you think?
So I think what you have just described is definitely on top of our mind, and we have been thinking, and we respect users' privacy a lot. At PowerYou, we take it at heart, and we basically have vowed that we will not monetize against user data. Period. All right. And on those lines, as we integrate with more and more tools, we will definitely allow user to integrate with some of those tools, which can bring value to your day or your week or towards your goals. And users can completely choose not to share that information and to what extent they want to share. And if they would like to delete that information and things like that. But definitely it unlocks so much potential because with the power of the gadgets and technologies we all have in our daily life, there are a lot of signals which keeps coming, contextual signals. And how does the AI or Power You will synthesize that information and put it on a platter so that it is easy to consume for our users? So that is something we are currently building and thinking about it.
Nikhil, you've been a coach all your life, and this is the second company you're starting around personal growth and coaching. What makes you so passionate about it? What have you learned about how to be a good coach and what people need in order to grow?
Personal development and growth is something I really care about. And I think my best managers or my best bosses were the ones who gave me very actionable feedback and built the best plans with me so that I am what I am today. So I give all my credits to all the mentors and coaches, my professors back in time. And I still call my professors from college at times when I'm doing something important. On that note, I feel that there are a lot of people who need support or who needs like a little bit of nudge here and there. And then you will see them shine up, just take charge and just run. So I've seen that within me as well as I've seen that to people. And they basically, it's like a cycle, right? Like help others grow and then they value that and they give it back to the other person. And I feel so good to see somebody performing so successfully in their careers whom I have had an opportunity to coach them and grow them. So I can so relate to it. So that's why I and Vivian, we both like connect at this level that, okay, this category, personal development or self growth is something we both care about so much.
That's really cool. And speaking of personal growth, you're also mentioning about building like a productivity tool. And I'm also a productivity tool fanatic. Would love to know if you can give any sort of like sneak peek or what it's gonna be like, anything you can share, like any teasers.
About the product which is coming up. Okay, so I think what we currently have is basically you can talk to the AI, you can get some action items and some highlights, and you can see the trends, how things are going. And we are in the process of converting those action items to things you can track, you can take goals against it, and then you can work towards like closing them out. This is something which is in the pipeline. And we definitely being like self-growth junkies, we are very much, okay, what is the goal? What is the timeline? Let's achieve them, hit it hard, and just move on to the next one. That's in the pipeline.
No, I was saying like it's so cool that you're tying this, like the coach is like telling you what to do and giving you action items. But then what you probably normally have to do, just when you go to a coach or like a therapist, like you're probably taking notes somewhere about the action items, but you're bringing it all together in one place so that you can just have your productivity journey in one platform, PowerYou AI. Very cool. And we as builders and our audience who are builders, we love tools that help us. And PowerUI is definitely one of those. What are some other tools that you are using on a day-to-day basis that helping you today become more like successful as a founder, like keeping you productive and just get you going?
Yeah, I think we use document writing, I think a lot at PowerU and everything like starting from the ideations, we use like Jamboard or sticky notes and stuff. So we are very much like a culture where we value the artifacts so that we can go back in time and see what decisions were made and why they were made, because we tend to forget at times. And also we use Slack a lot, and how do we collaborate in our workspaces, Slacking, Zooming. And the third thing is Figma. A lot of Figma and designs and ideations go underway through product development.
Those are great tools. Nikhil, I think this brings us to our speed round. So we're going to ask you a bunch of questions, and the pressure is on to answer so speedily. I'm just kidding. You can take your time and think. Question number one, what's one thing every manager should do to be a better coach to their team?
I think it's always good to know the story of their team members, where they're coming from and where they want to go. Because for everybody, the inspiration could be different. For some people, it could be the titles. For some people, it could be the money. I think asking what inspires them is very important. And whenever I'm working with my mentees or somebody I'm coaching, I keep that in mind, and that what are the immediate goals they're trying to optimize against.
That's amazing. Okay, question 2 of 3. Who's been the best coach personally for you in your life?
Oh, that's a hard question. So I think there have been a lot of coaches and mentors throughout my life, but I think one of the best ones I want to highlight is my mentor at Microsoft. His name was Mamun, and he was from Bangladesh as well. And he and I worked very closely on thinking about software design or writing code, thinking through all the edge cases. And he was like teaching me through, walking me through, and like he was like family. I think I owe a lot of my career to him.
Okay, third and final speed round question. Urtifa, do you want to close us out? Your favorite question?
Yeah. Are there any fun books, podcasts, people you want to shout out that influence or inspire you?
Yeah, I think I would mention two of them. I think one book and one podcast. Let's do that. For the podcast, I would say Masters of Scale by Reed is amazing. And Reed is legendary, and the guests on the podcast are also really inspiring. So I would highly recommend builders who also build stuff to go and see those early episodes. I would recommend more. And in terms of book, I think the Good to Great book by James Collins is amazing. And the hedgehog principle, like who gets on the bus concepts, are really valuable as founders if you are starting early or building a company. I really thank these people to build that community and share those knowledge with us.
Nikhil, thank you so much for being on the pod and answering all those questions and sharing with us your story. Yeah, it was really fun jamming with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for inviting me on the show. And I'm listening to Sandeep and the previous guest on the show. I'm looking forward to further episodes. One thing I have for all the listeners is if they want to sign up for PowerYou AI, we have a special coupon code, which will give like $50 off, which is like 100 builders, all caps. So if you want to use it and sign up.
Yeah, this was so fun. Thank you, Nikhil.